And just want to deal now with Trump's foreign policy, because I think this is very, very misunderstood and there's a lot of distortion in the media. So starting off with a clip from Trump's victory speech.
Powerful military, and ideally we don't have to use it. You know, we had no wars, 4 years, we had no wars, except we defeated ISIS. We defeated ISIS in record time, but we had no wars. They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
Okay, let everyone just take a moment there. That's very much a gaslighting clip for us all. But basically, this is obviously incredibly deceptive rhetoric from Trump. I mean, let's just talk about quickly his last time in office, where Trump continued the war in Afghanistan, expanded the war on Yemen, killed Iranian General Soleimani. He launched coups against democratically elected governments in Latin America, Bolivia, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. In 2017, he provocatively recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, which was a hugely controversial move against the Palestinians. He did arm Ukraine and Taiwan and withdrew from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, and of course, launched this new Cold War against China, which Anne has just been speaking about. So quite the opposite of a record of someone who is anti-war or isolationist. So just to sort of get through some of that. But unfortunately, this type of rhetoric often does cause people to claim absurdly that Trump is an isolationist and that he is even an anti-war president. And that's especially in regards to how he has spoken about Ukraine. And obviously there's a lot of media coverage right now speculating about whether or not he's going to freeze that conflict. So we'll see what happens with that. But we've got this clip here from Vance, which suggests a different reality. So I'm just going to share that here.
Because Kamala Harris has been sending so many resources to Ukraine, we actually don't have enough to send to Taiwan. So by defending, by approaching the Russia-Ukraine situation in the way that we have, we've actually made it more likely that the Chinese will invade Taiwan, and we need to pursue a foreign policy that makes it less likely. And that's what's going to change with Donald Trump as president.
Okay, so a really big question, Matt. Could you debunk this idea that Trump is an isolationist? And could you explain, in your view, what is the Republican Party's approach to foreign policy going to be? What should we expect in the next 4 years?
Thanks, Fiona. I think you did a pretty good job of running down Trump's, I shouldn't say a pretty good job. You did a great job running down Trump's previous administration, right? And as we all know, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And I mean, this is what we're looking at. We've already seen just in these 2 days a remarkable amount of conversation about who is going into Trump's government. And, just another adage, right? Personnel is policy. And so as we see who is going to be staffing the NSC, the CIA, the Department of Defense, the Department of State, it's a lot of the same names that were with Trump 4 years ago. The important thing to realize about these men and women are that they're true believers, that these are real believers in a Manichaean struggle, a struggle of good versus evil, us versus them. And any of us, even I just listened to, just Sequoia and Anna, your comments were so brilliant. And if you all have those written down, if you could send those to me, I'd love to read them after again, because I thought you guys they were so great. But, we could have Sequoia and Anna go in there and lay all this out for the people who are going in the Trump administration. And it doesn't matter because this is about identity to them. This is about ideology to them. This is about an imperial outlook that makes up who they are. So that makes it differ. That differs from the Democratic side of the imperial ledger, if you will, but because the Republicans are much more certain in their determination that what they are doing is part of the great timeline of history. What we see now in Mike Pompeo, Robert O'Brien, these types that will fill out the Trump administration's international and foreign policy and military and intelligence services. These are men and women who what they say comes from manifest destiny. What they say is a continuation of the doctrine of discovery. What they believe they are doing is righteous. And so we try and analyze them and predict or contemplate what they will do. You have to take it from that lens. Now, like any other aspects of Washington, D.C., any other aspects of the empire, there are other factors at play here. And certainly they have their allegiances, they have their bios, they have biases, they have their constituencies that's going to inform how they act. That clip from J.D. Vance is absolutely perfect. That really delineates, that really defines the Republican Party these last several years, roughly the one half of, say, the House of Representatives that are Republican who are against the Ukraine war. It's about spending the money on the Ukraine war because those men and women in the House, They view spending $185 billion killing Russians as not worth it. Spending $185 billion preparing Taiwanese to kill Chinese, totally worth it, right? So there is a mindset that does have some parochial interests, does have some biases, does have some institutional and constituency preferences that, you can compare to the Democrats. But, what will occur, particularly with like Ukraine and Russia, we saw today, maybe it was yesterday, leaks coming out of, not even leaks, there were conversations that reporters had with members of Trump's team describing what Trump's plan for Ukraine is. It's key to note that that plan includes plenty of arms sales, right? So there's not an idea of demilitarizing Eastern Europe. There's not this idea of pursuing a peace for the sake of civilian security. It's essentially to get the best out of both ways. So that the idea being, if you can freeze the conflict but still keep the arms sales going, then that gives something to everybody, right? And that's what you see with Trump a lot of times, this type of deal making, his desire to be as transactional as possible in anything he does. But I mean, with Ukraine, Trump will run into the issue. The Democrats will further double down on their use of Ukraine, the broader issues of Russia, Putin equals Trump. We are Democrats versus autocrats. That decade-long campaigning that's been so important to the Democratic Party's identity, both as an institution and on the individual levels. We still have plenty of Democrats in the United States who are flying blue and yellow flags outside of their home. This is the reason why they go back a year, go back to September of 2023, and the Biden-Harris first campaign ad is Joe Biden going to Kyiv, this idea of a wartime president, again, standing up for the tyrant Vladimir Putin, defending democracy from autocracy, right? Of course, a very nice mirror to their domestic political campaigns. But, getting back to this idea of what we can expect to see, again, we've seen it already. We understand who is coming into office. And so we're going to have an imperial agenda through a Trump White House that differs in its colors and its degrees from the Biden imperial agenda. But, overall, it's more of the same. Certainly, we can go point by point if you want to different places, but I think I'll leave it there at the moment.